Pack your bags and get out. This house belongs to my son's new love now." My mother-in-law Eleanor's voice echoed through the two-story house as she threw my clothes down the stairs. I watched calmly as my favorite blue sweater landed at my feet, followed by the rest of my wardrobe. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 34, I was watching my marriage crumble while my mother-in-law gleefully sided with my husband's 23-year-old girlfriend. But unlike what they expected, I wasn't crying or begging. Instead, I pulled out my phone, my finger hovering over the recording app. "These recordings will interest your church group," I said quietly, my voice steady despite the chaos around me. Eleanor froze mid-throw, one of my dresses dangling from her manicured hands. "What recordings?" she snapped, but I caught a slight tremor in her voice. She knew exactly what I meant. For the past year, I've been documenting everything. Every cruel comment, every manipulation, every scheme she plotted against me. Eleanor Thompson, the respected church leader and perfect mother, had quite a different personality behind closed doors. "You wouldn't dare," she hissed, descending the stairs with what she probably thought was menacing grace. "No one would believe you over me." I smiled, remembering all the times she used her reputation to shield herself from consequences. "Want to bet?" "I have quite a collection. Like last Easter, when you told the pastor's wife I couldn't attend the charity event because I was unstable, while actually locking me in the guest room." Her face paled slightly. "That's not. I was protecting you. Or maybe," I continued, scrolling through my phone, "they'd be interested in hearing how you sabotaged my birth control because you wanted grandchildren, then called me defective when I had a miscarriage." That had been 6 months ago. The pain was still fresh, but I learned to channel it into something stronger than grief. Each recording, each documented incident had become my armor against her cruelty. "You're just upset about Michael," Eleanor recovered quickly, straightening her designer blouse. "He's found someone more suitable, someone who can give him a family. Ashley is young, fertile, and half his age," I cut in. "Does your church group know you're supporting your son's affair with a girl barely out of college?" The look on her face was almost worth the past year of hell. "Almost." "You ungrateful little," she started, but I held up my phone again. "Careful, Eleanor. I'm still recording." She glanced at my phone, then at the stairs still littered with my clothes. I could almost see the wheels turning in her head, calculating her next move. Eleanor had always been good at strategy. It's how she'd maintained her pristine reputation while systematically destroying mine. "What do you want?" she finally asked, her voice tight. I picked up my blue sweater, brushing it off carefully. "I want what's fair. Half of everything Michael and I built together. The house, the savings, everything." "Absolutely not." Eleanor's face reddened. "This house has been in our family for generations. I only let Michael add your name to the deed because you never thought he'd get caught cheating. I finished for her. Or because you never thought I'd stand up to you." The truth was, I'd spent years trying to please Eleanor, thinking if I just tried hard enough, she'd accept me. I'd attended every church function, volunteered at every charity event, ignored every subtle dig about my common background. But nothing was ever enough. "I have videos too," I added, watching her eyes widen, "of you and Michael plotting how to force me out, planning how to hide assets so I'd leave with nothing. The timestamps match your Sunday school meetings perfectly." Eleanor sank onto the bottom stair, her perfectly maintained facade cracking slightly. "You've been planning this." "No, Eleanor. I've been protecting myself." "There's a difference." I started gathering my clothes, folding each piece carefully. The house was quiet now, save for the tick of the antique grandfather clock Eleanor had given us as a wedding present. "To remind you of the passing time," she'd said then. I thought she meant our happy years together. Now I wondered if she'd been counting down to this moment all along. "If those recordings get out," she began. "You'll lose everything," I finished. "Your reputation, your position in the church, maybe even your precious social standing. Imagine what people would say about the woman who helped her son abandon his wife for a college girl." Eleanor stood up suddenly, smoothing her clothes with trembling hands. "I'll talk to Michael. We can arrange something." I nodded, keeping my face neutral despite the victory thrumming in my chest. "That would be wise. And Eleanor?" I waited until she looked at me. "Next time you want to throw someone out of their own house, make sure they don't have receipts." She hurried up the stairs, probably to make frantic calls to Michael. I continued folding my clothes, each movement deliberate and calm. The recordings had been my insurance policy, my way of making sure I wouldn't end up like Michael's first girlfriend, the one Eleanor had driven away with similar tactics before she could trap her son. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Mom says you're being difficult. Just leave. It'll be easier for everyone." I smiled, thinking of the evidence safely backed up in multiple places. Easier for whom? I typed back, "We should talk. Your mom can explain why." The message showed as read, but no reply came. That was fine. I had time, and more importantly, I had proof. Eleanor could throw my clothes down the stairs, but she couldn't throw away the truth I collected, one recording at a time. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, 12 from Michael, 5 from Eleanor. I ignored them all and made my morning coffee, enjoying the quiet of my best friend Amanda's guest room where I'd spent the night. "You recorded everything?" Amanda asked, sliding into the chair across from me. She'd been horrified but not surprised when I played her some of the recordings last night. Every nasty comment, every scheme. I nodded, pulling up a folder on my phone. Started right after the miscarriage. Something in Eleanor's eyes that day. I knew she was planning something. I just didn't know what. The memory of that day still stung. I'd been in the hospital, barely processing my loss, when Eleanor had swept in with her designer handbag and perfectly practiced sympathy. "Perhaps this is God's way of saying you're not meant to be a mother," she'd said, patting my hand. "Michael needs someone who can carry on the family name." I'd started recording the next day. My phone buzzed again. "Michael?" This time I answered. "We need to talk," he said, his voice tense. "Mom's hysterical." "What did you say to her?" "Just the truth," I replied calmly. "About the recordings, the videos, everything." There was a long pause. "What recordings?" I played him a short clip, him and Eleanor in the kitchen 3 months ago, discussing how to transfer money from our joint account without my knowledge. His sharp intake of breath told me he recognized the conversation. "Olivia," he started, but I cut him off. "I'm done being the villain in your mother's story, Michael. I want a fair divorce settlement. Half of everything we built together. Otherwise, these recordings go public." "You're blackmailing us?" His voice rose with indignation. "No, I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. Meet me at Carson's Cafe at noon. Bring your mother. We'll discuss terms." I hung up before he could argue. Amanda gave me a worried look. "Are you sure about this? Eleanor's dangerous when she's cornered." "So am I," I replied. My hands shook slightly as I set down my coffee cup. Carson's Cafe was busy when I arrived, exactly as I planned. Eleanor would be less likely to make a scene with witnesses around. I chose a table in the center of the room and waited. They arrived together, Michael looking uncomfortable in his rumpled suit, Eleanor pristine as always in her church clothes. Of course she'd come straight from Sunday service. Her reputation to maintain. "This is unnecessary," Eleanor started as soon as they sat down. "We can discuss this privately." "No," I said firmly. "We discuss it here. Now." I pulled out my phone and several printed documents. "I want half of everything. The house, the savings, the investments, everything we built during our marriage." "That's ridiculous," Michael snapped. "You can't prove." I played another recording, Eleanor coaching him on how to hide assets, discussing Ashley's role in their plan. Several nearby diners turned to look at us. Eleanor's face tightened. "Turn that off," she hissed. "Happy to," I said, stopping the playback. "Once you agree to my terms." Michael looked between us, his confidence wavering. "The house belongs to my family." "Check the deed," I interrupted. "My name's on it." Eleanor made sure of that when she thought I was her perfect daughter-in-law. Eleanor's perfectly manicured nails dug into the table's surface. "You ungrateful little." "Careful," I warned. "We're in public." I gestured to my phone, and still recording. The waitress arrived with menus. We all declined to order. "What do you really want?" Michael finally asked. "I told you. Half of everything. A clean break. No contests, no games, no more of Eleanor's schemes." "And the recordings?" Eleanor's voice was barely above a whisper. "Stay private as long as you both behave. Think of it as insurance." Michael started to argue, but Eleanor grabbed his arm. She knew she was beaten. Her perfectly crafted image couldn't survive those recordings becoming public. "Fine," she said through gritted teeth. "We'll have the lawyers draw up papers." I smiled, feeling the weight of years lift from my shoulders. Perfect. I'll expect them by Friday. And Eleanor. I waited until she met my eyes. Next time you try to destroy someone, make sure they're not smarter than you. As I stood to leave, Michael grabbed my wrist. Why did you record everything? Did you never trust me? I looked at him, really looked at him. The boy I've fallen in love with was gone, replaced by his mother's puppet. No, I said honestly, I trusted you completely. That was my mistake, but I learned from it. I walked out of Carson's cafe with my head high, leaving them to deal with the curious stares from other diners. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. How did it go? They agreed, I wrote back. Amazing what a little evidence can do. Eleanor and Michael had thought they could bully me into leaving with nothing. They've forgotten that sometimes the quietest people are the ones you should fear most. I'd been quiet for years, watching, waiting, documenting. Now they knew why. A month after our confrontation at Carson's cafe, I stood in my new apartment, surrounded by moving boxes and fresh possibilities. The divorce settlement had been finalized faster than expected. Eleanor's fear of those recordings had apparently outweighed her desire to drag things out. My phone buzzed with a message from Amanda. Church newsletter just came out. You might want to see this. She attached a photo of the latest church bulletin. There, in Eleanor's monthly column, was a carefully worded announcement about Michael and Ashley's relationship, painting it as a beautiful story of two souls finding each other after his amicable divorce. No mention of the affair, of course. I laughed, remembering Eleanor's face when my lawyer had played the recordings during our final settlement meeting. Her precious reputation had survived, but we all knew the truth. Still spreading her version of events, I texted back to Amanda. Want me to send the recordings to the pastor? She replied. No need. Let her have her story. I got what matters. And I had. Half of everything, including the house which I promptly sold. Michael and Ashley could live with Eleanor for all I cared. I had my freedom and enough money to start fresh. The doorbell rang, interrupting my unpacking. It was Eleanor, standing there in her Sunday best, looking uncomfortable. May I come in? She asked stiffly. I considered closing the door in her face, but curiosity won out. 5 minutes. She stepped inside, eyeing my half-unpacked boxes. This is nice. What do you want, Eleanor? She twisted her hands together, a nervous gesture I'd never seen from her before. The recordings. Now that everything's settled, I want them destroyed. I leaned against the wall, studying her, afraid they might leak. They've served their purpose, she said. You got what you wanted. No, Eleanor. I got what I deserved. There's a difference. She flinched slightly. Michael and Ashley are getting married next month. And you're here because you're worried I'll send the recordings to the guest list. Wouldn't you? After everything. I walked to my desk and pulled out a USB drive. Here, the originals. Her eyes widened as I held it out. Just like that. Just like that. But Eleanor? I waited until she met my gaze. I kept copies. Consider it a reminder to treat your next daughter-in-law better. She clutched the USB drive, her knuckles white. You've changed. No, I corrected her. I just stopped letting you change me. After she left, I finished unpacking my living room, arranging photos of my new life. Trips with Amanda, my new job offer, the small garden I'd started on my balcony. No sign of my old life with Michael, no trace of Eleanor's influence. My phone buzzed again. A message from Michael. Mom says you gave her the recordings. Thank you. I typed back. I gave her what she wanted. Just like you did. Then I blocked his number. Later that evening, sitting on my balcony with a glass of wine, I scrolled through my phone's gallery. Among the new photos were the folders of recordings, my insurance policy against Eleanor's future schemes. She had her USB drive, but I had backups. Some lessons you only need to learn once. Amanda came over with takeout, a bottle of wine, and news about Eleanor's latest church committee drama. We laughed about it now, the power she once held over me reduced to amusing gossip. You know, Amanda said, raising her glass, I never thought you'd outmaneuver Eleanor. She always seemed unbeatable. I smiled, thinking of all the quiet moments I'd spent building my case, recording every manipulation, every scheme. She taught me something important, actually. What's that? Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting smart. My phone buzzed one last time, a final email from Eleanor. I hope you understand why I did what I did. I was protecting my son. I didn't reply. She'd gotten her USB drive, her pristine reputation, and her son's new marriage to celebrate. I'd gotten my freedom, my dignity, and the satisfaction of knowing that somewhere in her perfect world, Eleanor would always remember the quiet daughter-in-law who'd outsmarted her at her own game. And that was worth more than any recording.